What the hell is going on, guys? You know, it's not often that on this channel I will show UFO videos. Even though that is our bread and butter, we love digging into the UAP phenomenon. I don't show videos of it very often because, let's be honest, most of them are very blurry. They're very vague. They're indistinct. They're just bright pixels on a dark background. It could be anything at the end of the day. And if I showed every video that everyone sent me, I'd never have time for anything else because there are just so many videos of these things out there. And honestly, I think we kind of know that they're out there. I'm very firm in my belief that there are things in the sky that are unexplained, that we don't really know what they are, some of which are potentially non-human. But this video today is special, and it's not a new video. I actually saw this video a long time ago. I can't remember when, and it was burnt into my brain because I wish that I saved myself a copy. And I don't know why I didn't, but when I realized I could never find it again, it was always in the back of my mind, and today it has popped up again. So we're going to be watching it, and I'm going to show you guys why this video is different and interesting. We're going to break it down, give you a little bit of analysis as well. But before we get into that, my name is Josh. Welcome to Polarity. We dig into the phenomenon every single day in a live stream or a video. So if that sounds like your kind of jam, please consider subscribing. Let's get into the video.
Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go.
All right, so first of all, credit where credit is due. This is how I came across this thing again. Now, I don't know who this account is. The name is Eddie Abbott. It says they are a military intelligence analyst. I don't know who this person is. Normally, I wouldn't pay too much attention to people who write in caps lock with exclamation marks like this. Now, nothing personal. When it feels like people are screaming at me, I tend to just back away a little bit. But when I did check the video, I realized, oh my God, this is that video that I've been looking for years. I saw this thing years ago. But anyway, this is what Eddie Abbott says. Government file. This is a smoking gun. Confiscated video, Michigan. Never tell the United States government you captured a UFO up close. This video is a mic drop. This is the purest UFO video that no one can dispute. Oh, there will be a few morons with the same negative comments, but you will be changed after you see this. The car in the video is the photographer's car. He ran away after the UFO went above him near Port Huron, Michigan, my old stomping grounds. So shout out to Eddie Abbott. I don't know where he found this thing, how we got a hold of it again, but it's not new. It has been around for a while, but like I said, it's different. There's up close interaction with the car. And given that this is not a new video, this is before the time of AI, but it still could be fake. And we're obviously going to talk about that, and we're going to analyze it sort of frame by frame and talk about how it could have been faked if it was. And I'll give you guys my opinion on that as well. But first of all, we'll go full screen and we'll just let this video play out. This is the beginning of it though. It says document number 62759322156, location, Michigan, United States, date, time, October 27th, 2013. Time of the sighting is unknown. And one sighting of case designate Ofen. Not sure what that means. Maybe you guys do. If you do, let me know in the comments. But here we go with the full video. All right, so we'll run it back one more time. We'll do a bit of commentary over it this time, and I'll give you guys my thoughts. Now, it's my understanding that the person filming this video here is actually in the car that we see in the video at the beginning. And he's stopped because he's seen something, and he's sort of, I don't know what he's doing right now. It's hard to tell. But you hear him get out the car. And note the sound of the car. The car seems to be doing this weird engine whirring until it stops. In fact, that might have been why he stopped and got out, because the engine is making this weird whirring noise that does not sound normal for a car. And that kind of droning and whirring is very sort of synonymous with UFO encounters, right? We hear that sound a lot, or people describing that sound. And this is the first look at the UFO, which again just has this beautiful, bright, dazzling white light, which is extremely common in a lot of UFO encounters and sightings that we hear. But what's most interesting, in my opinion, is this kind of beam or aura that appears to come down from the UFO down towards the car. And it's just such an interesting looking light. We can sort of skip around on a few frames here, but I mean, as we look at this, I'm going to talk about what I think, or how I think this could have been faked, and try and put myself in the shoes of someone who was hoaxing this, and we'll talk about that. But I just want to say, first of all, that this light is just so sort of unique and interesting. And, you know, how this would have been faked, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a way you could do this in like a 3D program like Houdini, but it's just such a unique looking light. You know, it reminds me of how people describe this plasma layer that sometimes surrounds a craft. Like it's almost like a liquid that is sort of like shifting color with light going through it. Like a plasma, in a way. It kind of looks like that. And here with the actual UFO itself, you know, it's got this classic UFO shape in terms of like it sort of looks like a saucer. But then we notice that it shifts throughout this video, which is really interesting. So let's keep an eye on that as well. And now you can begin to hear that same whirring pattern that we heard happening to the car's engine before he turned it off. It seems like I mean, maybe it's coming from the UFO, but you can hear something that sounds very unnatural. Seems like it's sort of rotated here. And that light is just so white. And now we see the car, okay? And this is where it gets really interesting. Because just below the car, you can see there's like, you know, what looks like a beam hitting the ground. And this beam seems to start surveying or tracking the car. And this is why my conviction on this video is so high, because there's really only two options, okay? This came out in 2013, according to the thing at the start of the video. I don't know that for sure, but I know I saw this years and years ago, like I said at the start. So I think straight away we can rule out AI based on the timeline, but also based on how it looks and the camera work and how long it goes for. I really don't think this is an AI video. So it leaves us two options if it's fake. Either this whole scene is 3D and the entire thing is CGI and it's all been made in 3D. I don't think that is the case, but we'll keep it on the table for now. The only realistic option that I believe this could have been faked with is that someone shot this video and then superimposed the UFO and also the tractor beam coming down. But the reason why I think that would be so hard to do is the way that this light interacts with the car. Let's keep an eye on that. So you start to see here the beam of light, which still just looks so interesting and unique. something we've never really seen before. Starts to hit the car, okay? And look at the way it just reveals the car like that. If we scan sort of back and forth here, it hits that right-hand side. You start to see more of the roof. It starts to drop down the other side. It's almost like this light is hugging the shape of this car so tightly. We'll keep letting it play. But just the way that it interacts here, to me, look at it. It's going over the back of the car too. This would be near impossible to do in 2D. Okay, I think we can really push 3D off the table. It's extremely hard to make things that are made in 3D to look like real life, especially in 2013. But what's really interesting is right here. Watch how the beam interacts with the tail light, which we'll go frame by frame on in a sec, but also where the number plate is as well. Like, you guys know how on the back of your car, you've got kind of like the end of the boot, and then it kind of tucks into where your number plate is, and then it kind of, you get the bumper at the back. It kind of has this kind of like bumpy shape to it. This green light just hugs that so tightly, and it reveals that. And again, to fake these kind of things, extremely difficult. Look, you see it sitting on the top of the bumper below the license plate, but not on the license plate itself, which means, like, this car has the correct shape and geometry. But right there, let's just go back for 1 second, because this is where I think it's a dead giveaway. So this little frame here, okay, look at the left-hand side. You got the left tail light, the green sort of scanning the car. And then as we go to the next frame, you see it kind of like grabs the tail light, and it almost kind of looks like the tail light expands a little bit. Now, this isn't obviously happening, but it's kind of the way we perceive light, or the way a camera perceives light. That's just kind of creating this sort of little trick here, that it's making it look like the two lights are sort of like magneting to each other and joining. Now, that's not obviously happening. But again, if this was 3D or even in 2D, you would have to then do these little details. You would have to add them in. It's almost kind of like adding in the mistakes and tricks that our eyes play on us. And I think it even happens in a couple of other frames as well. Like, it's just whenever these lights kind of intersect, you see the tail lights, they kind of warp. There's a little bit of a warping effect happening. And, you see these kind of green lights scan across the tail lights multiple times. And if you just look closely, you see it almost looks like the tail lights just kind of warp and stretch just for a frame or two as those lights intersect with each other. But I mean, look at that. Like, look at that shot. That's like crazy. And, it's reminiscent of many things. I think obviously the big one is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There's basically a scene where this kind of happens. But also the Knowles family incident, which happened in Australia in 1988 or 89. They were driving. It was a long stretch of road down on the southern coast of Australia. And they basically had an encounter just like this. Some kind of bright light descended over their car. They were going at a high speed, though, and their encounter was quite violent. And it left this weird sort of residue all over their car. The family all were a bit red, looking like they were sunburnt, similar to Close Encounters of the Third Kind with the radiation burns. And, back in the 80s when they came out with this story, they were just kind of laughed out the door and nobody took them seriously. But, this almost looks like a depiction of what happened to these people, but this doesn't look anywhere near as violent as their encounter was. One thing to note as well is look at the UFO. Okay, so let's bring our attention back up again. So as we said earlier, it's got this classic kind of saucer shape to it right now, but it begins to rotate, and you actually realize that it's not a saucer at all. You can see it spinning here, and now look at it. This thing seems to be like a skinny long diamond or something like that, because it continues to rotate, and you see it comes back around to that saucer shape. So let's just play that back again so you guys can see, because again, trying to put ourselves in the shoes of someone who would be faking this video, right? Now, you could go on forever thinking they're pretending to not look like a UFO because we would think they would want it to look like a UFO, so they're trying to play 4D chess and double bluff. I mean, who knows? But I think if someone was going to go to this effort to hoax a UFO and they're using a saucer shape to make it all of a sudden not look like a saucer, that doesn't seem like a move you would make if you were going to make a hoax video. Again, this is all just conjecture and, no one really knows. But it's just like why I feel firm in the fact that the MH370 videos are real, because there are just so many decisions that had to be made in the faking of those videos that are so obscure and just so like, what would possess you to do that if you're not trying to match anything? You have no reference. You're just making a video in your bedroom for a bit of fun. You know, in the MH370 case, what you decided to render the mouse at a different frame rate and then composite it over the actual video at a different frame rate. Like these things are just crazy. Like no one's doing that. Now, this is example isn't as far fetched as that, but it's on the same line of thinking. You know, we need to think if this is real, what is the thought process behind making a decision like that? And making a craft that kind of looks like your classic saucer, which would sell people into this video, to then have it rotate and realize it's not. It's almost like some kind of skinny tube diamond shaped thing with like something underneath it. I don't know. But it does have just this like magnificent white, bright light, brighter than bright, just pure white, which is something again that we hear really often. You know, I would love to see some of the people we've seen speak about their encounters. Say like someone like Dylan Borland. You know, this obviously this doesn't look exactly like what he saw or the way he describes it, but I would love to hear just what he thinks. Like, how do you feel when you see this? You know, you're someone who has allegedly seen something similar to this. How does this video make you feel? And it seems like here, this thing begins to just like the light goes off, it begins to ascend, and it begins to ascend what looks like pretty quickly. But you know, once the car goes out of frame, and this is my problem with a lot of the videos that I get sent, because usually it's just like pixels on a black background. We have no reference. We don't know, you know, how fast it's traveling, what's around it, how big it is. All of a sudden, it's just bright pixels on a dark background. But it feels like it's moving pretty quick. You just kind of get that feeling from the way it kind of disappears and it continues with that weird sort of spinning motion. So just going back to the start here again, that weird whirring sound. I just want to listen to that one more time. Because it's my understanding that he's at the car right now. And he's not in the car. He's gotten out to film this. The engine is going, not in a natural way that an engine would. And then he gets in the car, turns it off. Gets out the car. I don't know if he has turned it off. It's hard to tell. But that same kind of whirring pattern continues once this UFO really comes into frame. And it's really interesting here. Like there's a couple of frames like this one, you know, it almost looks like, you know, like Saturn in a way. Like is it something with a disc around it? Or is it, you know, it's weird. Like there's something so bright that is so bright you can't even see any detail in it. Yet there are frames where like it almost looks as black as the background in between some of this bright light, which is really, really strange. Like you would think anything this bright would just sort of like flood those gaps with light. I mean, it could be a camera artifact, but it does kind of stay kind of consistent through these frames here. I don't know about you guys, but like my conviction for this video is extremely high. Like I would say this is up there with one of my top UAP videos. Based on the things that we've spoken about, why I think this would be so hard to fake, why it kind of even rings true to some things that we know about. Like I said, the Knowles family, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which yes, is a fictional movie, but you know, we know about Spielberg and his links to having things in his movies that kind of seem to really replicate things that happen in real life. And it also actually sounds a lot like the footage that apparently exists that Logan Paul has. I've talked about this on the channel a long time ago, but James Fox has told and spoken about footage and seen it himself that a guy named Chuck Clark has, where it's like footage of these guys out in the desert driving, and then they start freaking out and they get out their car and film this thing. And it kind of sounds how this looks like there's this thing that is like a stone's throw above their car. And it's just kind of like sort of sitting there, kind of wobbling a little bit. But it's orange. They describe it as orange, and that this thing is just like right there and it looks like it's alive. Apparently, Logan Paul has that footage, and he's never released it. So I don't know what the go is with that. I don't know why, but no one's ever seen it except the people that have it. But it does sound a lot how that video looks, but I don't think it's the same thing. I will say the one thing that does make me a little bit sus on that video is that the person with the camera doesn't say a word. Now, I don't know if he's having just like a profound spiritual, religious kind of experience while he's looking at this thing and is just like unable to get anything out. But something that is, it does feel kind of strange. Not even like an, oh my God. I don't know. But, then again, actually, you know what? Then again, when I had my orb sighting experience, which, was not as profound or as striking as that video was, obviously, but I didn't say anything either. And that's because I was so focused on filming it and I was alone. If I was with people, I feel like you would probably naturally start saying something to like, make sure the people with you are like seeing what you're seeing and you're on the same level. But when you're alone, it is kind of weird to just speak out loud, especially having an experience like that. I don't actually know. I don't know. That's a weird one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about that and also about this video. Have you guys seen it before? If you haven't, what do you think? And if anyone has any extra context to it, like if you guys know more details about the person, who it was, how it surfaced, anything like that, get in the comments and let me know. Like I said, we don't show UFO videos too often, but I try to make sure when I do that they are good ones and that they are quite compelling. Guys, thank you very much for watching today. I appreciate it. Hope you're all having a Merry Christmas and enjoying the holidays with your family. If you enjoy the video, please leave a like. And if you want to support me even further, you can become a member for $5 a month. It supports me directly. You get access to members-only videos and live streams, as well as the members section in our Discord, which is the best place to hang out on the internet. But Discord's free for everyone. So get in there if you want to talk about this video. If you've got similar videos to post, that is the place to do it. But if you want to support me and support yourself, you can get 20% off our merch store right now. With the code WeirdoXmas, you get 20% off tees, hoodies, caps, everything, all of it. And that's my Merry Christmas to you guys. So thank you. But at the end of the day, I just appreciate you being here, liking the videos, sharing it, commenting, spreading the love. It really does mean a lot to me. I really do feel extremely grateful that I have an awesome community to just dig into all of this weird stuff with. I do not take it for granted at all. So thank you to you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Keep being good to each other. Be kind. Make sure you're getting outside, touching some grass every single day. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.